Welcome to another episode with Loans Elevated. My name is Broch Lassig, top 1% loan officer nationwide.
And I'm TJ Heidenreich. Together we bring the latest news, strategies, and insights in the mortgage and real estate industry.
Can you hear us? Do we sound good?
Do I sound like good?
Does he sound like a Greek god? Okay, we're back with another episode, and today we're talking about something that is tried and true in our business, something we focus on every day with our clients. So if you haven't heard previous episodes, we've talked about this, but our whole philosophy is baked around holistic mortgage planning, which we boil down into optimizing leverage, which is the mortgage financing, in effort to maximize wealth, so freeing up liquidity through the optimizing the leverage, maximize wealth, and also mitigating risk. These are very major pillars in our discussions with every single client and the backbone of our business. Now, moving a little further into our philosophies, we have the compounding effects of real estate, and we've essentially narrowed down into two major buckets that clients will fall into as far as their goals in real estate generally fit in some level into one of these two buckets. So we're going to dive in, explain those two, and hopefully our goal in this explanation is to essentially take the glamour out of the idea of creating massive wealth and investing in real estate. So creating massive wealth through the ownership of real estate and investing in real estate. It's not as complicated and glamorous as many people want it to be or the media portrays it to be. So,
well, it boils down to like, how do you become wealthy in the U.S.? You can be a professional athlete, you can win the lottery, you can run a business, or you can play the stock market. Or the common person way of doing it is just buying real estate.
Yeah.
What's the stat? Like 80% of millionaires became millionaires through real estate or something like that?
Yeah. I think unless it's like one of these random things like a superstar athlete,
right.
Or
and we're not 6'5", so
exactly, unfortunately not. But and I'm definitely far from it. But the bottom line is real estate is the path to massive wealth creation, and most of the wealthiest people, financially wealthy people that you and I may think about on any given day, their wealth, even if they are successful in business or even an athlete or whatever, many of them, their actual wealth is isolated
sitting in real
estate.
Right.
Right? I mean, it's crazy. So
right.
Anyway, it's what we're passionate about. So we're going to dive into the two major buckets that we focus on. And the first one is what we call buy, sell, reinvest. And this is the strategy that enables somebody to acquire their dream home. So it's a step-by-step process to investing in real estate, creating wealth, leveraging properly, and ultimately owning a home of your dream, or probably, I mean, honestly, beyond your dreams. Both TJ and I would say own homes beyond our dreams, and we didn't do this just because we got lucky somehow or bought at the right time, or frankly, I may have built at the worst time. And I still have significant equity, but it's been a step-by-step process of understanding I had a goal to have a very nice home, and I followed this step-by-step process, continued reinvesting, and the wealth created through the homes that I had purchased, and ultimately allowed me to do this. And TJ
both of us have bought our dream homes in a high-rate environment.
Right, exactly.
Higher than what rates have been. So,
or high-cost environment.
Right.
Like I built my dream home recently, and it was the most expensive building
Lumber's
time ever
high.
in history during COVID.
Right.
And you bought in a high-rate environment, but we were still able, by following a lot of what we're going to talk about today, we were still able to acquire our dream home in a relatively short time.
Yeah,
I mean, we were very focused on this. We knew what we wanted, and we had the plan, because thankfully we're in this business, we understand it. But buy, sell, reinvest, acquiring your dream home. So I'm going to break it down in simple numbers to give an example on a kind of middle of the road type house, what would maybe be a starter home or maybe a second home for most families. So a $500,000 purchase price. Let's say that's your first house or the next house. You start with this $500,000 purchase price. And as a primary residence, you can get away with a very low down payment, sometimes 0% down. In this scenario, we ran 5% down, so $25,000. A modest down payment. And let's say you keep that property for 5 years. Based on historical appreciation rates, it's like 4.5% approximately, and it's like a 60-year average of appreciation. So honestly, these numbers are highly conservative because although they're based on a long-term average, which is what you would feel like is a realistic expectation, here in Utah anyway, the market is moving in a direction that is far different than what it has been doing over the past 50, 60 years. And for the next probably, like my guess is a complete guess, for the next decade, we see somewhat outlandish appreciation rates. Like right now this year, we're already tracking above 12% on an annualized basis. Over the past several years, we've averaged about 15%.
Yeah.
So these
and
numbers
we've talked about, this is simple supply and demand. There's just not enough inventory. I mean, to be earning 1% every single month, that's huge.
It's outrageous.
Yeah, it's crazy good.
So these numbers are very conservative, but 5 years down the road, after you sell the property, so you buy that $500K house, you put $25,000 down, which is 5%. 5 years later, you sell it. After you've paid all your closing costs, all your fees to realtors, everything, you truly net $139,250 at the sale of that house. And as the tax code sits today,
tax-free, yeah.
That is tax-free as long as you live in it as your primary residence for 2 of the most recent 5 years. And consult with a CPA on that. Not everybody qualifies, but generally speaking, that will be tax-free earnings. So now, this is a hypothetical scenario, remember. But now let's say the average family has $60,000 in debt. That would include credit card debt, student loan debt, auto loan debt, RV, debt or a boat payment, whatever. Just $60,000 in consumer non-mortgage debt. And that is costing about $1,000 per month. In the rate environment we're in today, it's dramatically more than $1,000 per month. So again, I think we're being conservative here. Yeah, but you definitely take of that $139,250, you pay off $60,000 in debt, you free up $1,000 a month. Now you take the remainder of that equity. So you got about $80,000 available after you've paid off all your debt. You invest that in a new home. And that $80,000 should supply the down payment and pay for the closing costs on a new home worth about $750,000. So you go from a $500K house, 5 years down the road, you have a $750,000 house with no more than $25,000 out of pocket in the beginning. And here's the cool thing. The new payment on that $750,000 house is going to be equal to or less than the old payment plus the debt that you had outstanding that the equity enabled you to pay off. So essentially your pocketbook, you're paying the same amount of money out of pocket every month. You invested $25,000 5 years ago, and you're in a position that you are one step closer to your dream home, $750,000 property, which is 50% more expensive than the first one you bought with a very modest down payment. Now you can move forward, and 5 years later, you would net $235,000 on the $750,000 house. And the cool thing is now you're debt free. So $235,000, you invest that, you're in $1 million, possibly
it's crazy,
more north of it, maybe multi-million-dollar property at this point by simply buying that house at $500,000, putting your $25K down, and letting it ride and playing your chips the right way. And you can repeat this process every 2 to 5 years. It depends. The tax codes will weigh into that decision making because the tax-free earnings on the sale of primary residence real estate can only happen as it sits today once every 5 years. So you have to occupy it for 2 of the most recent 5, but you can only do that once every 5 years. So let's say you do that every 5 years. Within 10 to 15 years, you're literally in a multi-million-dollar house with very modest cash investment.
Well, you know what's crazy about this is we present this to clients sometimes. Well, before we present it, a lot of clients just want to take all the net proceeds from the sale of their house and dump it into their mortgage payment or into their mortgage. Because I want my payment to be as low as possible. But they're not looking at no, let's look at your total net out of pocket every month. And paying off the debt, that's where their true savings come in. And then it's kind of like a debt snowball. Then you can take the
Exactly.
savings from that. And then if you want to apply more towards your mortgage, do that.
100%.
Rather than
it's way
holding
better
on
to be
debt.
financing more on a mortgage because there are tax benefits to mortgage
Right.
interest.
You can't write off interest on a credit card.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, it's huge.
It's powerful. And we are going to follow this episode up, just so you guys know, with another one where we talk about other ideas. So we kind of take it a step further as you're netting property through the ownership of real estate. Maybe you don't want a multi-million-dollar house. Maybe the $750K house is the end, or maybe $1 million house instead of a $2 million, whatever the case is. But showing you how you could then take that cash and reinvest in different ways to really start maximizing wealth potential and wealth growth through owning real estate. And it's the crazy thing is the tactics we talk about, we literally paint the picture for many clients that turn into multi-million-dollar retirement plans by buying a house.
Right.
I mean, there's nothing special about it.
Yeah, it's crazy. Anyone can do it.
And it's relatively low risk. I mean,
Right.
you're going to have a house expense no matter what.
Right.
It's crazy.
Right.
So
That's true.
that was acquiring your dream home. That's a path. Now, sometimes clients go into, the idea of acquiring a portfolio of real estate, and maybe you want both. So these two processes could be married together and used together. But Tej, dive into our next strategy, which is more
so this strategy is meant for acquiring a portfolio of real estate. So not just one, but maybe you want to have a multitude of rental properties. I have personally done this myself. So you purchase your first home, little to no money down. Maybe it's a down payment assistance program. Maybe it's a little as 3% down. But then you occupy that property for 1 year. Reason why you need to occupy that for 1 year is after you've lived there for 365 days, you can then purchase a new property as another primary residence. The advantage to doing that is when you buy a primary residence, you have little money down. You could technically do a down payment assistance program again if you wanted to. Or,
so in theory, you could buy 2 investment properties in 2 years with zero money down.
Exactly.
It's kind of weird. It's crazy to think about.
For sure. So then you buy that new home and you're vacating residence that you're leaving. You can use the perceived rental income to help you qualify for that next home. It's 75% of what the rental agreement that you get signed is used to help you qualify. It's nuts. And you can rinse and repeat that every year. So, and you can have up to 10 properties financed through agency financing, but we've got programs here at CrossCountry. We can get up to 20 properties financed this way.
Yep.
It's nuts.
Huge.
Yeah.
And it's, one thing that's important is a lot of people get confused about the industry, and there's a lot of misinformation. The media leads people astray. There's a lot of misinformation out there and misconception, but when you can use the rental income to qualify, you don't have to qualify for 2 properties. So a lot of people, when we present this idea in the beginning, or when they're like, man, I would like some rental properties, I just don't make enough money to do it, or I don't have a big enough down payment to buy an investment property, they're missing the strategies that are afforded to all of us here in the U.S. through the mortgage financing that's available, which is like it's like stealing money, honestly. If you understand it and you plan appropriately, you have professionals in your corner that know the strategies. It is crazy easy.
Well, dude, I've got a client that I helped buy. I talked to them this week. It's funny. They bought in 2018. I helped them buy their first home. Now, fast forward to today, they're buying their 5th home with me, and if they wanted to, they could technically retire and they'd be cash flowing what they originally were going to cash flow with their jobs when they first bought in 2018, just through their investment properties. They could retire, and they're young. Dude, they're first-time home buyers.
Which is so sick. That was in 2018.
Yeah.
And you know what's crazy?
Yeah.
Guaranteed in 2018 and all through that whole process, every year, 2019, 2020, every time they bought a property, you had many other clients that are like, I can't buy this property.
It's the wrong time. Yep.
It's the wrong time.
Because in 2018, rates were higher.
Exactly. The cash flow's not good enough. Well, guess what? Rent rates go up. Values go up.
And rates will come down. You can refinance. It's not a forever thing.
100%. So it's trusting that real estate is a long-term investment. Trusting that long-term, there's almost no way you can't make money by investing in real estate,
for sure.
and not worrying about what is happening right this second, what's going to happen next month, or even in 6 months or a year. None of that matters, because over the long run, this young couple, essentially over a 5-6 year period, have just literally created their path to true financial freedom, true lifestyle freedom, and they could retire,
retirement plan, and generational wealth. They can give that to their kids when they pass.
Exactly, because in no time, I mean, hell, if they just reinvest, which is probably what they're doing, reinvesting the cash flow into paying these properties off soon enough.
Because they're still working. I mean, They'd be bored if they weren't working.
They don't need the cash flow. It's crazy. You know, it was funny in one of our homebuyer seminars this week that we hosted. I made a joke to everybody, and I said, listen, I'll make everyone in this room a proposition. I'll sign a contract today to buy your house. If you buy a house today, I'll buy your house back from you for the price you pay, plus the sum of all of the interest payments on that property that you make. So I'll pay you what you pay for the property, the purchase price, plus all the payments that you've made through the ownership for 10 years. And 10 years from now, we'll total that up, and I'll pay you that price. I'll sign the contract today with hard earnest money.
Yeah.
And the reason I'm so confident in doing that, I don't care when it is, what property it is. Yeah. No matter what, 10 years down the road, that thing is going to be worth way more than that cost.
Oh, for sure.
It's insane.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So, yeah, it's pretty cool. But this is what we're super excited about. This is our passion. This is what gets us up every day excited to come to the office and help our clients, help our partners really realize this dream. And like I said, stay tuned for next episode because we're going to dive a couple layers deeper into helping you understand even more strategic ways to reinvest some of this wealth that you can create through real estate to create possibly a brighter financial future for you and your family. So thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time.
Thank you for tuning in. For more industry insights, follow us on all platforms at Loans Elevated.
And to get in touch with our team, call or text 801-713-4000 or visit loanselevated.com.